Hey, hey, hey! Big E here, or Facebook Live.
Hey, 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 everybody! Big E here.
It's going crazy in the house.
Hey, look at this incredible. We have out here.
Unbelievable.
All these people waving signs, the orange wave.
From Big E TV, my special guest is Mr. Peter Julian. Judy Darcy, not only is she the MLA right here in beautiful New Westminster, British Columbia. Peter Julian, how are you, sir?
Good to see you, Eric.
Yeah, but she is also the Minister of Mental Health and Addiction for the provincial government, BC, center of the universe.
We had a terrific turnout, hundreds of people out here in New Westminster at the Royal City Centre.
Yeah.
And I say to everybody, Happy Lunar New Year. Shinyan Kwaila.
Lovely New Westminster, which I learned is among the most diversified of all areas. Peter Julian, I subscribe to his stuff. The Royal City Centre, the center of New Westminster, 6 and 6. This is Uptown. You got it here. Going with my fellow Dane here, Judy Darcy, in the house. Right on. Now you are the NDP finance critic. So
Yes,
not
I am.
only are you the member of Parliament for beautiful New Westminster, British Columbia, but you also are, I think, looking after the interests of all Canadians. So great to see Peter, like yourself and Peter, out in the community, you know, meeting people, being with them. So many of our politicians, it seems like they can't even connect with people anymore. 39.5 billion, folks, in profits. That's not revenues. And on the other side, Canadian household debt is at an all-time high. We're leading the world per capita in household debt. So my question to you, Mr. Julian, is this sustainable? We had a good news budget that just came out.
I've been smiling all week. We introduced our first budget as the new government last Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we have the biggest investments in generations in housing, in
Not at all. And that's why we've been saying we need to bring an end to this increasing inequality in Canada. We have two problems. First off, the wealthiest Canadians seem to get off without paying any income tax at all.
seniors care and in child care. This is going to be the first new social program in British Columbia in decades. And we're, a bold step towards universal child care. There's investment in seniors care.
There was a throne speech from the BC government and Premier John Horgan. It was focused around affordable housing and some of the abuses that are going on with this foreign buyers skirting of our laws and taxes coming into the country and into the province. It was also about going after the sort of related corruption and money laundering, and a big theme was of course affordable childcare, because that was a big tenet of their platform in the last election.
We're moving forward aggressively in my ministry, the Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions, on combating the overdose crisis that is still taking 4 people a day.
4 people a day.
But we're also focused on moving forward on building a better system for mental health and addictions.
Right. How in the future the number one killer is not going to have anything to do with physiology, but it's going to have to do with loneliness. The provincial government created a new Ministry of Mental Health and Addiction. I got to give a shout out here to Judy Darcy. Not only is she a Dane, but she represents us here in New Westminster, and she's a lovely lady.
So we want to get to a place in BC where you have a mental health and addiction system where you ask once and you get help fast, and where every door is the right door.
The goal is to improve the access and quality of mental health and addiction services for all British Columbians, as well as develop an immediate response to the opioid public health emergency.
Silk and I now have started a exercise for chronic brain disease.
Okay.
And that's for Parkinson's, MS, Alzheimer's, but mood disorders, depression, anxiety. What's the best treatment? You ask Silk, what's the best treatment for people with Parkinson's? It's not drugs. It's exercise.
And we're going to start with focusing on child and youth mental health, intervening early in our schools, intervening to support families, before mental health issues become severe and before they turn to substance use, making sure our kids get the best possible start in life.
That's amazing.
You can have excellent mental health, cardiovascular health, reduce the risk of cancer by exercising for 23 minutes a day. And that's what keeps us young. And have grandkids.
My goodness.
And my grandkids keep me young.
So Jagmeet Singh and myself held a press conference last week where we said we need to crack down on these tax havens, crack down on all these loopholes, and then we can use the money to invest in people.
Snow out there in Vancouver. Get out there and play with your kids. Goodness knows we need to get some exercise. We need to spend more time with family. What a great way. Get out there in nature.
and that includes pharmacare, that includes affordable housing, that includes protecting pensions, and dealing with the atrocious conditions in First Nations communities where there's not even drinkable water, schools are inadequate, there's no heating.
People like you and me that need to make these big decisions going forward in terms of, do we want people with values in power that are going to represent us?
All of these are problems in a country as wealthy as Canada. They come from that inequality. They come from the fact that the biggest corporations and the wealthiest Canadians get off scot-free when it comes often to the income tax system.
Wow. Bank lobbyists are still in there beating up the government, trying to remind them about how much money they gave the last election and that they can't have anything that comes out there in favor of consumers over banks, because it's the banks that pay their way to get into office. It's not the consumers that vote them in. This is how whacked out we've gotten. All this shrouded secrecy that goes on, we have no idea what's going on. So it's time we started figuring it out.
Yeah, and we had Mr. Trudeau, we remember in the last election campaign, saying that he was going to crack down on tax havens. He's actually signed more treaties with some of the most secretive tax havens, the most notorious tax havens.
So let's everybody step it up, pay attention to what's happening with our banks.
Canada is known as now as the capital of snow washing. So organized crime can take their money.
Snow washing. I don't even know what that is.
You basically take organized crime money, illegal money, you run it through a tax haven that has a treaty with Canada. You bring that money into Canada. There is no transparency around how to form a company in Canada. So you can take that money, run it through Canada, run it back to your tax haven, and all of a sudden that dirty money coming through organized crime or the drug trade actually becomes clean.
NDP financial critic Peter Julian, who offered this, let's see if this makes sense. Consumers should feel when they have a transaction within the banking system and the bank makes a mistake, the bank is going to fix it. Hello, I think that makes sense.
And yet we have had consecutive governments, conservative and liberals, that have said that's fine. We're just going to keep signing these agreements with tax havens rather than cracking down on legal money that is being used and snow washed here in Canada. So it's time to fight back against inequality. It's time to fight back against what are the most bizarre rules you can possibly imagine that really are to the detriment of regular Canadians right across the country.
Interesting.
Hey, I've got the head coach of UBC Thunderbirds W Band, 3 championships in 5 years. Tell me, what is the secret to winning a championship, Deb?
A lot of hard work, a lot of teamwork, a little bit of luck.
Is there anything more that young people can do to get involved in the political process?
Okay, folks, I got David Eby in the house. What's up, David? Nice to meet you, sir.
It's not an easy go being a full-time student and a varsity athlete, trying to win national championships, but the players work hard every day to be the best they can be.
I'm with my man Abu, and we are Facebook Live at John Horgan's event.
Educate yourself. That's the key. Educate yourself.
No, social media makes a big difference, and we're seeing a lot of young people taking the social media stuff that we put out so that people understand what's at stake with this increasing inequality, with the lack of investments in regular people, and the tax havens and the money laundering that is taking place in Canada. So social media is a good first step.
Who do we got here? What's up, buddy? Nice to meet you.
Follow me on social media, follow the NDP, follow Jagmeet Singh. Get involved that way, and then we will be making sure we're getting you involved. People need to be involved to make a difference, and I think we're seeing more and more young people saying enough is enough. We need a country where regular people, where nobody is left behind, and where regular people actually are given a fair shake.
Lunar New Year here in New Westminster, British Columbia, and I really appreciate you coming out, Peter, and I really like your attire there. You're looking very sharp, man.
Thanks very much. Great to speak to you.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric.
We need to start investing on people, and we're going to get that ROI big time in productivity. Dr. Jack Taunton here from UBC Sports Medicine. I just want to have a moment. Judy, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you more in the future.
Thank you so much. Good to talk to you.
Okay, thank you.
Eric, you're a leader.
But I'm going to try to have a conversation that's a little bit bigger than ourselves.